Hey guys, welcome to another episode of MrBottomline podcast. Before I get into the core topic of today's conversation, I'd like to start with a little bit of a quote. And it goes like this: if you want to buy happiness in life, wait until you have the money for it. Research shows that there is a short way to lower happiness in your life, and that is to take more and more loans. Yes, today's conversation is about loans. What are the different kind of loans? Which ones are acceptable? Which ones are not? Which ones you should take it, and the nuances associated with it. But before we talk about loans, let's talk about money. Money is always a tool to something in life. It's not the end or it's not the destination by itself. There are essentially five things that you can buy with money. The first one, you can buy stuff or things. You can buy experiences, you can buy time, you can give away on charity donations, and finally, you can save it and watch it grow. Now, there are four things that money can buy that brings you happiness. And then there is one thing which does not give you happiness, which is to buy stuff. But unfortunately, the brain is conditioned to push us more into doing the one thing that does not give us happiness. And why brain gets it wrong? Let's understand the human psychology behind it. We human beings, also known as Homo sapiens, have been traditionally known to live in a kin-based hierarchical societal system in a tropical climate. Now, thanks to the invention of coats, we are now able to live in cold temperate climates. But I'm digressing. So, in this hierarchical societal system, there is a natural tendency for us to desire to move up the hierarchical ladder. Now, again, our brain is conditioned to over millions and billions of years to think that acquiring more stuff, acquiring more things, accumulating things leads us to move up this hierarchical ladder. And hence the desire for us to have more and more things. When a person needs to look at time, they just need one watch. And there are people who buy 10 watches, 100 watches. And the same applies to cars. You have to move from one point to another point. You just need a car. But you see people accumulating 5 cars, 10 cars. So next time you see this behavior with people, do not think that they have a value that reasonably justifies their purchase. It's just that they wanted to or they desire to move up the hierarchical ladder. Now, the second thing that the money can buy is experiences. This is a very popular misconception that buying experience is somewhat temporary, whereas buying things is permanent. And the reality is the exact opposite. Experiences gives you what is called a memory dividend, which I'll speak later in this video. But I'll explain this in very simple example. There is this Harvard professor called Arthur Brooks, who's also a very popular personal finance writer. And this guy is a Spanish guy and moved into the United States at the age of 28 with his wife. And these people were almost broke, did not have a lot of money. So they had $600 to buy a couch for their new home. And they did not have a couch. But the wife somehow convinced the couple to take a $600 vacation towards their first anniversary, which is approaching in a few days. And there was a long debate between the couple, and they finally settled for the $600 vacation. And Arthur Brooks is now 65 years. And he says that is one of the best decisions in his life because he vividly remembers every single detail of the vacation that he has taken with his wife for his first anniversary. And 6 months later, they actually had the money to buy the couch. They did eventually buy the couch. And he says that he does not even remember the color of the couch. And there's a very simple example to explain why experiences are permanent and things are somewhat of temporary in nature. Now, the third thing that the money can buy is charity donations, right? And it also shows that giving away money, donating money, makes you more rich. Now, you can ask, oh, how are they related? When you give money to a person or to a situation in life, you basically becomes a problem solver. And when you become a problem solver, you become more effective. And when a person becomes more effective, somehow they get more money. And this is how the loop closes. And also research says that there are strange correlations between you giving away money and you becoming more attractive to people around you, particularly to women around you if you're a man who's watching this video. And a simple way to explain this is that when you're in a restaurant with your partner and you tip generously to the valet, and your wife looks at this and then says that, okay, this person has a lot of money. And more than the money, this person has the wish and the desire to give away more money to people, and hence you become more desirable to that person. So the fourth thing that money can do is what you can do with money is to save it and watch it grow. Right? Again, as Homo sapiens, humans are obsessed with the idea of getting a rush by looking at something grow. And this can be described psychologically, this can be explained physiologically, because we have something called dopamine pathways. Dopamine is a happy hormone, and these pathways get activated when we watch something grow, which is why we get a lot of happiness when we see tree that we planted suddenly grows, or the house that we have decided to construct suddenly becomes big. These are the things that gives you happiness, and there is a physiological reason for it. And again, an example to explain this is that particularly when you talk to people who have summited Mount Everest or any other peaks, when you explain about their, when you ask about their experiences, barely very few people talk about what they do at the summit, what they do after the summit, but rather they talk about the experiences during the journey, which is like they may talk about saving people who are staring at the face of death, or dealing with an avalanche, or probably crossing a crevices with a lot of ladders and ropes and helping other people cross it. And it is very cliched, old school, but humans tend to derive a lot of satisfaction from the journey, from the progress during the journey, rather than the destination itself. Now, we talked about 4 things that money can buy, which brings us happiness, and the one thing that brings us unhappiness, and why brain pushes us to do a lot of that. I'd like to end this segment with a quote that when you start making progress in one aspect of your life, you start making progress in other aspects of your life. Simple way to again explain this is that let's say you started exercising regularly, which means you start looking at the kind of food that you eat, because you do not want to waste the time that you otherwise spent in exercising. And when you start fixing the food habits, your grocery bill suddenly comes down. And when your grocery bill comes down, then your personal finances start improving. That's a very simple way to explain this. Yeah, so now coming to the core of today's conversation, which is loans. What kind of loans? People say that I have my grocery bill to pay, I have to survive, hence I need my credit card to pay all of this. I need to educate myself, progress in my career, because education loans gives the best ROI. That's why education loans are needed. I need to move from point A to point B. I have to take my family out on vacations. I can't rely on taxis; they're completely unreliable, and hence I need a car loan, and I need a roof over my head, and hence I need a home loan. Justification after justification after justification. Now there are exceptions to the loans, which are called the good loans. For example, you desire to have a roof over your head, and you want to live and raise your kids in a very good neighborhood. Completely reasonable, completely understandable expectation from you, and 99% of the people do not have the entire money, do not have the means to buy a home in full cash, and hence you want to take loans. And in my opinion, this is the only exception, which are the home loans, when it compares with all other kinds of loans, which is justifiable. And even in home loans, there's only a certain limit that you have to go to. For example, that's usually 30% of your take-home pay every month. If your home loan payments cross more than 30%, then again, it becomes a psychological burden. So yes, we will talk about all the loans, all the different kinds of loans, but most importantly, consider loan as a psychological burden. Imagine you having to walk around in life in a physical world with a huge, heavy backpack on your back, and how burdening it is. That's exactly how emotionally draining loans can be. And you literally become a slave when you're debt ridden, or taking loans. For example, you have taken money from your friend, and whenever the person calls, you have a guilt that you have to answer. If you have not taken the money, you do not have to answer that call. And that's why it is equated to slavery. So the first kind of loans, credit card loans, I've spoken about it in a lot of my videos, that 78% of the people do not pay credit card on time, or they pay less than what the actual amount is. And if you are listening to this and not one of those in the 78%, which means you pay credit card bills on time and the exact full amount, still you do not have a reason to use credit cards. Why? Because statistics says that people who tend to spend using plastic cards, which is credit cards, tend to spend more psychologically compared to you paying money. And this can be explained very simply. When you pay money for things, you are actually undergoing the pain of parting with the physical thing called cash. Whereas in case of plastic cards, you actually give the card and then get the card back. So there is no act of parting, there is no pain, which is the reason why it is doing this. And 60 to 70% of interest for those who do not pay on time. And if you have credit cards and you do not pay on time, and you are watching this, trust me, you have given yourself a lot of emotional load to yourself. And the best way to do this is surrender your credit card, find the ways and means to pay it off and get off the credit card loans. It's absolutely not worth to have it. So the next kind of loans is student loans. yes, people need to make progress in their life. Student loans probably give the best of ROI. I have taken a student loan myself. To this date, this is the loan which has given me the best ROI. So it will be very hypocritical of me to advocate that student loan is something that you should not go for. See, in India, if you take the trend in the last 5 years, banks have reduced the sheer absolute number of student loans that they are giving away. But having said that, the counter trend is that the amount of money that is dispersed as student loans in the last 5 years, that has also increased. And why banks are doing so is because they are reducing the number of loans, small ticket education loans that they're giving away, and increasing the number of large ticket education loans, which is people who get into professional degrees, IITs, IIMs, going abroad. Why? Because they feel that there'll be a lot of default rates in small ticket education loans, and the repayment capacity in high ticket loans is very high because people tend to get better opportunities. So if you're watching this and looking to put yourself in colleges, particularly within the 0 to 4 lakh range, chances are that your ways of financing this will be very tough, and banks will be more and more not looking at you as a prominent source of loan. Also, the problem with student loans is that as soon as you graduate, you end up spending the first 8 to 10 years paying your student loans, which means you lose the head start with people who do not start with the student loans. But having said that, I understand that not everybody comes from a background of privilege, and hence, particularly if you want to progress through education, you have to take student loans. How to approach student loans is that you'll be given like period where you get avail interest waivers in India, etc. So the bottom line is that when you're taking a student loan, try to get out of it early. There's no reason for you to keep the student loan hanging. Again, the idea is to reduce as much interest as possible and get out of it as soon as possible. So the next thing is home loans. We discussed most of home loans. It is the only justifiable loan that people should take, and in fact, research also says that home loans are the ones that does not lower your happiness significantly. If you look at credit cards, disaster, the car loan tanks your life satisfaction significantly. Student loans again lowers your life satisfaction, not as much as the previous two loans. Home loans do not have anything to do with lowering your happiness. So yes, I am towards the idea of taking home loans. Reasonable justification like I need a roof, I need good neighborhood, etc. But having said that, do not go overboard, which means 30% of your monthly payment should be home loans or lesser than that, and ensure that you put yourself on a fixed interest rate. I know in India it's very difficult to get home loans on fixed interest rate, which means negotiate for a fixed interest rate. And finally, the white elephant in the room, which is car loans. I have no way to comprehend why car loans are important for people. And let me explain you by the simple logic. Car is an item that is losing value over the number of years. And on the other side, you take a loan, which means you're paying more and more money as interest. So for an item which is losing value over the period of years, you're paying more and more money. And many people will justify this by saying taxis are not reliable, public transportation in India is not evolved. How can I manage without the car? Yes, you need a car, assuming you have the money to pay for it. I'm only advocating for those people who are financing a car by a loan. And I want to do a very simple math. Well, it's not so simple, it's slightly complicated, but I would still go for it and explain you why this is such a loss of opportunity. Let's say you're in your age 18. I know many of you watching this will not be in your age 18, but just for this argument and calculation, you're earmarking 20,000 as the monthly EMI payments for your car. Let's say that's scenario one where you're actually paying these EMIs. On this scenario two, let's assume that you decide not to go for a car and instead take 5,000 and keep it aside for all your travel needs. The remaining 50,000 is there for doing anything you want. Let's do a simple exercise with this 15,000. Let's say we put this 15,000 aside on a simple mutual fund and do an SIP. And this is giving, let's assume a return percentage of 10%. And 10% in Indian equity markets is very easy to achieve, particularly if you have invested over a long period of time. When you start doing this at your age 18, at your age 30, you'll have 45 lakhs. At your age 40, you'll approximately have 1.4 crores. At 50, you'll have 4.2 crores. And at 60 years, you'll have 9.5 crores. A very simple decision of not going for a car purchase, essentially on an item that is losing its value. And it's not something that's so difficult for you guys to do in life. And let's consider another scenario. Assuming this 10% is now converted to 12% for whatever reason you get lucky in the market. The markets have been so good during your investment period. If you start 15,000 at 12% annual returns, at the age 18, you know what's the money that you will have at your age 16? 17 crores. The number of BMWs, Mercedes, Lamborghinis that you can get in that money. It's mind blowing. Now let's come to reality. Many people say that you're not in your age 18, and in investing world it's never too late to start investing. Let's say you do start this 15,000 SIP at the age 40. Still, you're starting so late, but at your age 50 you'll have 35 lakhs. At your age 60 you'll still have 1.5 crores. Just 20 years, you're delaying the decision. You have completely abandoned the idea of going for a car. So, yes, that's how disastrous car loans can be. In my list, in my opinion, I think credit card is the most worst loan, car loans is the second worst, and then student loan, and finally home loans. Home loans are justifiable, it doesn't lower your happiness, but see to it that you're getting out of it as soon as possible. The other three loans, if you have a choice, don't even think about it. So, finally, to end this video, I'm going to talk about what is called, or there is a concept called desired salary, happiness salary. So much of research says that, when you ask people what is your desired salary, they usually say 40% more than what they actually have now. And what you actually have now is a moving target. It's a moving horizon, which means you can make 10 lakhs today, you will be making 10 crores or 1 crore in 10 years of time. So, in order to make this moving target into a stable target, you need to live below your means. If you live below your means, which means your annual expense is fixed, which means the target is fixed. So you only need 40% on top of your annual target, assuming you have saved for your retirement or saved for when you do not choose to work, do not want to work. So there are many creative ways of living below your means, and I'll put another video on it. But more importantly, when it comes to approaching investments, try to live below your means, which means your horizon becomes stable, and hence all your mathematics will come into place. Finally, I'd like to end this video with a small quote. Investing in your well-being in your life is equivalent to investing in a retirement account. The sooner that you start, the better your returns will be. So essentially, there are 4 things that you have to invest in order to maximize your life experience, your fulfillment. One is the faith, whether you believe in God, do not believe in God, there is something that drives your world, drives your life. Continue to love that idea, continue to believe in that, continue to invest in that. Second one is family. And the third one is friends. And finally, the fourth one, which is work. And you know what is the common theme that underlines all these 4 things, which is to love, and give more love. Thanks for watching so far in this video. We have come to the end of it. But there's one most important thing that I want to talk to you. You've come this far, which means you've pursued this far, which means you agree with most of my ideas. You tend to watch more of my videos. And I look at my analytics, and it says that 99% of the people who watch my content do not subscribe to my channel. And all I request you is that if you think you've seen value in this video, go watch a couple of my videos. And if you think that there is value in those videos also, then there's a good reason for you to go subscribe and continue to have my videos reach your inbox. And I'll try to give more and more value to you through my content.